A wealthy groom kicked an old man away from his wedding decorations. "Get lost, you filthy beggar," he shouted in front of 500 guests. The old man smiled sadly and walked away. But when the ceremony began, the same man walked onto the stage, and what he revealed destroyed the wedding and the groom's entire future. This is the unbelievable true story of a secret test that went horribly wrong. The beggar wasn't who anyone thought, and what happened next became the most talked about wedding scandal in Delhi's history. Before this story unfolds, I need to know, what city are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments right now. And if you believe character is tested when nobody's watching, smash that subscribe button. Because this tale of karma is absolutely perfect. Let's begin. Arjun Malhotra stood in the grand ballroom of the Imperial Palace Hotel, overseeing the final preparations for what was being called Delhi's wedding of the year. At 32, Arjun was a successful investment banker, heir to a substantial family fortune, and about to marry Priya Kapoor, daughter of one of Delhi's wealthiest industrialists. The wedding had cost over 3 crore rupees, with no expense spared. The ballroom was a vision of opulence, crystal chandeliers imported from Italy, silk drapes in gold and cream, and an elaborate floral arrangement that had cost 12 lakh rupees alone. Thousands of roses, orchids, and lilies were being arranged by a team of decorators into towering displays. 500 guests would attend: politicians, business tycoons, Bollywood celebrities, the cream of Delhi's elite society. Arjun's designer sherwani had cost 4 lakh rupees. Priya's bridal lehenga was worth 22 lakh. The wedding jewelry was a family heirloom set valued at 2 crore rupees. Everything was perfect, exactly as Arjun had planned. This wedding wasn't just a celebration. It was a statement of power, wealth, and status. Arjun had worked tirelessly to prove himself worthy of the Kapoor family's only daughter, and today he would cement his position at the pinnacle of Delhi society. Around 2 p.m., as final preparations were being completed, Arjun noticed an old man near the flower arrangements. The man was probably in his 70s, wearing a simple, worn kurta that had seen better days. His feet were in old rubber chappal. His face was weathered and deeply lined. He looked completely out of place among the expensive decorations and well-dressed staff. The old man was gently touching the flowers, seeming to admire the arrangements. One of the decorators appeared to know him and was speaking to him respectfully, even showing him some of the rose displays. Arjun felt immediate irritation. Who was this shabby old man, and why was he being allowed near the expensive floral installations? "Excuse me," Arjun called out sharply, striding over. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" The old man turned slowly, his eyes calm and observant. "I am just admiring the flowers. Beta, they are very beautiful. The roses especially. Such care has been taken with them." His Hindi was cultured despite his appearance, but Arjun was in no mood to appreciate it. "These flowers cost 12 lakh rupees," Arjun said coldly. "They are not for random people to touch. This is a private wedding venue. Security." He gestured to nearby guards. The decorator who had been speaking with the old man looked uncomfortable. "Sir, he's not doing any harm. He was just looking." Arjun cut him off. "I don't care. I don't want beggars wandering around my wedding. It looks terrible. What if guests start arriving and see this?" The old man smiled slightly, though there was sadness in his expression. "I apologize if I've caused offense. I meant no harm. The flowers reminded me of gardens I once knew." Arjun's irritation intensified. The old man's calm demeanor felt like condescension. "I don't need your life story, old man. This is the most expensive wedding of the season. Everything must be perfect. You don't belong here. Leave now, or I'll have security remove you forcibly." One of the wedding planners, a woman named Sneha, approached nervously. Sir, perhaps we could. Arjun rounded on her. Perhaps nothing. I'm paying you 28 lakh rupees to manage this wedding. Part of managing it is ensuring random beggars don't wander in off the street and ruin the atmosphere. Get him out. Now. His voice had risen, drawing attention from other staff members. The old man looked at Arjun for a long moment, his gaze penetrating in a way that made Arjun momentarily uncomfortable. Young man, flowers are beautiful regardless of their cost. What matters is not the price, but the intention behind them. Are these flowers here because you love beauty, or because you want others to see how much money you can spend? The question was asked gently, but it felt like an accusation. Who I am and why I am spending my money is none of your concern, Arjun snapped. You are clearly just a poor old man who wandered in here and is jealous of wealth you never have. I've been polite enough. Security, escort this man out of the hotel. If he resists, call the police and have him arrested for trespassing. The guards approached, looking uncomfortable but following orders. The old man didn't resist. He simply nodded slowly, as if confirming something to himself. I understand. Thank you for showing me who you are. He allowed the security guards to escort him toward the exit. As he walked away, he turned back once and said, I hope you find what you are truly looking for in this marriage, Arjun. Though I fear you may not like what you discover about yourself. The use of his name startled Arjun. How did this random old man know his name? But before he could ask, the man was gone, escorted out of the hotel. Sneha approached carefully. Sir, that man, he seemed to know you. Are you sure you wanted him removed? Arjun waved dismissively. I don't know him. He probably heard staff using my name. Just another beggar trying to get attention or money. Forget about it. Let's focus on making sure everything is perfect for tonight. The incident was forgotten as preparations continued. By 6 p.m., the ballroom was filled with guests in designer outfits, networking and sipping champagne that cost 8,000 rupees per bottle. The who's who of Delhi society had arrived. Cabinet ministers, business magnates, film stars. Arjun moved to the crowd accepting congratulations, feeling the validation he craved. This was his moment, his triumph. At 7 p.m., the wedding ceremony was scheduled to begin. Priya would make her grand entrance, followed by the traditional rituals. Arjun stood at the decorated mandap, the wedding altar, feeling a mix of excitement and nervous energy. His family sat in the front row, his parents, his younger sister, various aunts and uncles, all beaming with pride at the match he'd secured. The Kapoor family sat on the opposite side. Priya's mother Sita was resplendent in jewelry worth 1 crore rupees. Her father Rajesh Kapoor, the industrial tycoon whose approval Arjun had worked so hard to earn, sat with his characteristic stern expression. Next to him was an empty chair that Arjun had noticed earlier but hadn't thought to ask about. The priest began the preliminary chants. The guests settled into their seats. The musicians prepared for Priya's entrance. Everything was proceeding perfectly. Then the hotel manager walked onto the stage and whispered something to the priest, who looked surprised. The manager then approached Arjun. Sir, there's been a slight change to the ceremony order. Mr. Rajesh Kapoor has requested a brief address before the bride's entrance. Arjun was confused. An address? That wasn't in the program. What's this about? The manager looked uncomfortable. I don't know the details. Sir, Mr. Kapoor insists it's important. Just a few minutes. Arjun nodded reluctantly. Rajesh Kapoor was his soon-to-be father-in-law and one of Delhi's most powerful men. If he wanted to speak, who was urgent to object, Rajesh walked to the center of the mandap and took the microphone. Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate what we thought would be the union of my daughter Priya with Arjun Malhotra. I say, Thought, because something has happened this afternoon that has forced me to reconsider this marriage. Before we proceed, I need to introduce someone very important to our family. The ballroom, which had been buzzing with conversation, went silent. Arjun felt eyes forming in his stomach. Reconsider the marriage? What was happening? Rajesh gestured toward the entrance, and Arjun's heart stopped as the old man he'd kicked out that afternoon walked into the ballroom. But he was transformed, or rather, revealed. He was wearing an elegant silk kurta now, expensive and perfectly tailored. His posture was straighter, more commanding. His feet were in fine leather shoes. And most shockingly, the entire Kapoor family stood as he entered, showing him deference that made clear he was someone of immense importance. Sita Kapoor touched his feet in a gesture of respect. Rajesh himself stepped aside to give the old man the microphone. "Let me introduce," Rajesh said, his voice carrying across the stunned ballroom, "my father, Ratan Kapoor, the founder of Kapoor Industries, the patriarch of our family, and a man worth over 8,000 crore rupees. He built our family fortune from nothing, and he maintains a tradition, one that Arjun Malhotra has spectacularly failed." Arjun felt like he'd been punched. This was Priya's grandfather, the legendary Ratan Kapoor, who had supposedly retired 15 years ago and lived in seclusion. The billionaire founder of one of India's largest industrial conglomerates. And Arjun had called him a beggar, insulted him, and had him thrown out of the hotel. Ratan Kapoor took the microphone, his voice strong despite his age. "For 40 years, I have maintained a tradition. Before any young man marries into our family, I test his character. I dress simply, as I did when I was poor, and I observe how he treats people he believes are beneath him. A man's true character is revealed not in how he treats the powerful, but in how he treats the powerless." "This afternoon," Ratan continued, his gaze fixed on Arjun, "I came to this hotel dressed as a poor old man. I approached the wedding preparations, curious to see the elaborate display of wealth. 12 lakh rupees for flowers, 3 crore rupees for one day of celebration. Extraordinary sums. I admired the roses, spoke briefly with the decorator, and then Arjun Malhotra arrived. The ballroom was absolutely silent. 500 of Delhi's elite sat frozen, watching this drama unfold. Arjun stood at the mandap, his face pale, his expensive sherwani suddenly feeling like a costume. Ratan's voice was calm but carried unmistakable disappointment. He asked who I was with contempt. He mocked my clothes. He called me a beggar. He ordered security to remove me. He threatened to have me arrested. Not once did he show curiosity about who I might be, kindness toward an elderly person, or basic human decency. I have tested 12 young men over the years, Ratan said. 8 passed. 4 failed. Of those 4, 3 were merely indifferent. They ignored me but weren't cruel. Only one other was actively contemptuous, and that marriage was called off. Arjun Malhotra is the second man in 40 years to fail my test so completely that I cannot in good conscience allow him to marry my granddaughter." Arjun found his voice, though it came out shaky and desperate. "Sir, I didn't know who you were. I thought you were just. I was trying to protect the wedding from. I made a mistake. Please, let me explain." His mind was racing through the implications. If this marriage was called off publicly, his reputation would be destroyed. The business deals dependent on the Kapoor alliance would collapse. His standing in society would be annihilated. Ratan held up a hand for silence. "You didn't know who I was." "Exactly. You saw an old man in simple clothes and concluded he was worthless, someone to be discarded. That reveals everything I need to know about your character. You respect only people who have obvious wealth and power. You have contempt for anyone you perceive as beneath you. That is not someone I want in my family." Priya appeared at the side of the stage, still in her expensive bridal lehenga but with tears streaming down her face. Dadaji, she said, using the Hindi term for grandfather, is this really necessary? Here, in front of everyone. Her voice was anguished. Ratan's expression softened as he looked at his granddaughter. Yes, Priya, it's necessary. Would you rather discover his true nature after marriage? After you've tied your life to his? He turned back to address the ballroom. Let me tell you what happened in detail so everyone understands. When I admired the flowers, Arjun didn't just ask me to leave. He said, and I quote, I don't want beggars wandering around my wedding. It looks terrible. He was concerned not with my well-being or even with actual security, but with how my poor appearance might reflect on him in front of wealthy guests. When I tried to engage him in conversation, Ratan continued, asking whether the flowers were chosen for their beauty or their cost, he responded with, who I am and why I'm spending my money is none of your concern. You are clearly just a poor old man who wandered in here and is jealous of wealth you never have. He then ordered me arrested if I didn't leave immediately. Murmurs spread to the crowd. Several guests looked at Arjun with expressions ranging from shock to disgust. This was the groom they'd come to celebrate, a man who had insulted and threatened the legendary Ratan Kapoor. Arjun's mother sat with her hands over her mouth, horrified. His father looked like he might be sick. The social catastrophe was unfolding in real time. Arjun tried again, his voice pleading. I am sorry. I am deeply sorry. I was stressed about the wedding. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was wrong to judge you by your appearance. Please, give me another chance. Let me prove I can be better. He was begging now, all pride abandoned in desperate hope of salvaging something from this disaster. Ratan shook his head slowly. Arjun, you are not sorry about what you did. You are sorry about who I turned out to be. If I had actually been a poor old man with no connection to this family, you'd feel no remorse. You'd still believe you were justified in treating me with contempt. Your apology is to my wealth and power, not to the human being you insulted. One of the guests, a prominent businessman named Jarwa, spoke up. Ratanji, with respect, the young man made a mistake. We all have moments we are not proud of. Is this really worth destroying a marriage over? Several other guests murmured agreement, but Ratan's expression didn't change. Vinay, you are a good friend, and I appreciate your concern. But this isn't about one bad moment. This is about character revealed under pressure. Let me explain my test more fully. Ratan said to the assembled guests, when I built Kapoor Industries from nothing, I was poor, desperately poor. I know what it feels like to be dismissed, mocked, treated as worthless because of my clothes or my background. I built this fortune so my family would never experience that. But I also promised myself that no one in my family would become the kind of person who inflicts that treatment on others. So I test the young men who want to marry into our family. I approach them as a poor old man to see how they react. Do they show basic kindness? Do they treat me with human dignity even though I appear to have nothing they want? 8 of the 12 men I tested passed the simple requirement of basic decency. Arjun failed catastrophically. Rajesh Kapoor spoke up, his voice heavy with disappointment. Arjun, 3 months ago, my father asked me about you. I told him you were ambitious, successful, well-connected. He asked me about your character. I told him I didn't know you well enough personally, but that you'd been respectful in our business dealings. My father said he'd conduct his test. I agreed. This is the result. Priya was crying openly now. But I love him, she said, her voice breaking. We've been planning this wedding for a year. We've talked about our future, our life together. Doesn't that matter? Ratan moved to his granddaughter and took her hand gently. Of course it matters, Beta, but love without respect, Without shared values, without good character, that love will turn bitter and painful. He's shown you who he truly is. Believe him. Arjun's best man and childhood friend, Vikram, stepped forward. Mr. Kapoor, I've known Arjun since we were boys. He's a good person. He works hard. He's honest in business. He treats his employees well. One mistake in a stressful moment doesn't define who he is. Vikram was trying to help, but his words rang hollow in the face of what everyone had heard. Ratan looked at Vikram with something like pity. You've known him in contexts where there are consequences for bad behavior. In business, you can't cheat or mistreat people openly without damaging your reputation and career. But how does he treat people who can't affect his success? The servants in his home, the drivers, the cleaning staff, the waiters at restaurants. That's where true character shows. He turned to the crowd. Is there anyone here who has seen Arjun interact with service staff, with poor people, with anyone he perceives as beneath his social class? Anyone who can testify to his kindness in those situations? The silence was damning. Finally, one waiter from the hotel stepped forward hesitantly, encouraged by a manager. Sir, I've served Mr. Malhotra several times during wedding planning meetings. He's not unkind exactly, but he doesn't see us. He snaps his fingers for service. He never says please or thank you. Once he berated a waiter for bringing the wrong wine, called him incompetent in front of his guests. The waiter was new and made an honest mistake, but Mr. Malhotra demanded he be fired. Another voice came from the back, a young woman who was part of the decoration staff. I was adjusting flowers this morning when Mr. Malhotra came through. I accidentally bumped his jacket with my hand. He recoiled like I was dirty, told me to be more careful, and complained to my supervisor that these people needed better training. He made me feel so small. Her voice was quiet but clear. Arjun felt his defense crumbling. These incidents had seemed insignificant to him, just maintaining standards, expecting competent service, nothing personal. But hearing them recounted now, in front of 500 people, they painted a picture he couldn't deny. A picture of casual cruelty toward anyone he considered beneath him. Ratan nodded slowly. Thank you for your courage in speaking. This is what my test reveals. Not just one moment, but a pattern. Arjun treats people as things to be used or obstacles to be removed. He has no empathy for anyone who can't advance his ambitions. That man cannot be trusted with my granddaughter's happiness or our family's values. Arjun's mother stood, her voice trembling. Ratanji, he's my son. I know I made mistakes in raising him. Perhaps we've been too indulgent, too focused on success and status. But he can learn. He can change. Please, don't destroy his life over this. Her pain was genuine, her maternal love overriding the evidence of her son's flaws. Mrs. Malhotra, Ratan said gently, I'm not destroying his life. I'm preventing him from destroying my granddaughter's life. He can absolutely learn and change. But that learning should happen before he takes responsibility for another person's well-being, not after. Marriage isn't a rehabilitation program. It's a partnership that requires mutual respect. And Arjun has demonstrated he doesn't respect people he sees as lesser. Priya's mother Sita spoke up, her voice firm despite the tears in her eyes. Papa is right. I love Priya too much to let her marry someone who failed this test. I've seen too many marriages where the wife is eventually treated with the same contempt the husband shows servants and strangers. I won't let that be my daughter's fate. Her words were a final blow to Arjun's hopes. The priest, who had been standing awkwardly throughout this drama, spoke carefully. Mr. Kapoor, what would you like me to do? The ceremony was scheduled to begin. Ratan's answer was definitive. There will be no ceremony. This wedding is cancelled. The guests are welcome to enjoy the dinner that's been prepared. No sense in wasting food. But there will be no marriage tonight or any night between Arjun Malhotra and my granddaughter. Arjun sunk to his knees at the mandap, the full weight of his catastrophe finally crushing him. His marriage was cancelled in front of 500 witnesses. The business alliance with Kapoor Industries was destroyed. His reputation was demolished. Every person in this room would tell the story, and by tomorrow, all of Delhi would know. His cruelty to an old man had cost him everything. "I'm sorry," he whispered, though whether to Priya, to Ratan, or to himself, he didn't know. "I'm so sorry." But apologies were meaningless now. The damage was done. Priya was being led away by her mother, still crying, her 22 lakh lenga trailing behind her. The guests were standing, murmuring, shocked by what they'd witnessed. And Arjun knelt alone at an altar where no marriage would take place. The next morning, Arjun woke in his apartment to a nightmare that hadn't ended with sleep. His phone had 247 missed calls, 1,834 WhatsApp messages, and his social media was exploding with the story. Someone had recorded Ratan's speech and posted it online. Billionaire patriarch cancels granddaughter's wedding after groom fails character test was trending across every platform. The video had gone viral, millions of views in hours. The comments were brutal. "This is what happens when you judge people by their clothes." He treated a billionaire like garbage because he looked poor. Perfect karma. Every girl should have a grandfather like Ratan Kapoor who protects them from marrying cruel men. The story had captured public imagination, a perfect morality tale about arrogance and comeuppance. Arjun's professional life disintegrated with equal speed. His investment bank called an emergency meeting. 3 major clients had withdrawn their accounts overnight, specifically citing they didn't want to be associated with someone who would display such poor character publicly. The managing director was sympathetic but firm. "Arjun, you are a talented banker, but your reputation is toxic right now. We are placing you on indefinite leave while the firm decides how to proceed." The business deals that had been dependent on his impending alliance with the Kapoors collapsed immediately. A real estate venture worth 40 crore rupees was cancelled. The Kapoor family was pulling out, and other investors followed. A manufacturing partnership was suspended pending re-evaluation of all parties' ethical standards. 5 years of carefully building business relationships were destroyed in one night. His social standing evaporated just as quickly. The exclusive clubs he belonged to quietly suggested his membership might be reconsidered. Friends stopped returning calls. Invitations to events were rescinded. His girlfriend before Priya, a model named Natasha who would remain friendly, sent a text. "I always thought you looked down on people. Glad I didn't marry you. You haven't changed since college when you mocked the scholarship students." That text hit Arjun hard because it was true. In college, he'd sneered at students who couldn't afford a lifestyle he took for granted. In business, he dismissed rivals from less privileged backgrounds. In life, he'd consistently treated service workers, drivers, cleaners, and anyone else he saw as beneath him with casual contempt. He'd never recognized it as cruelty, just as maintaining standards. His parents visited, his mother crying, his father angry. "How could you be so stupid?" his father demanded. "Ratan Kapoor is a legend. Everyone knows he maintains old-fashioned values. And you insulted him? Called him a beggar? What were you thinking?" Arjun had no answer. He hadn't been thinking. He'd been reacting from his core beliefs about class and worth, and those beliefs had destroyed him. A week later, Arjun received an unexpected letter. It was from Ratan Kapoor himself, handwritten on personal stationery. "Arjun, I am writing to you not with anger, but with hope that you might learn from this experience. You have suffered a public humiliation that I would not have wished on anyone, but that humiliation is an opportunity for growth if you choose to take it. The letter continued, "You treated me with contempt because you believed my poverty made me worthless. This revealed a fundamental flaw in your character. You value people based on their utility to you, their wealth, their status. You don't see humans as inherently valuable, regardless of their circumstances. Until you change that core belief, you will continue to cause pain to others and ultimately to yourself. I am not writing to forgive you or to condemn you. I am writing to challenge you. Spend the next year working with people you always considered beneath you. Volunteer at organizations serving the poor. Work alongside daily wage laborers. Spend time with those who have nothing to offer you in terms of money or advancement. Learn to see their humanity, their dignity, their worth. If you do this genuinely, you may become someone worthy of respect. If you don't, you will remain the man you showed yourself to be that afternoon." The letter ended. The test wasn't designed to humiliate you. It was designed to reveal truth. You failed not because I'm cruel, but because you are. Change that, and perhaps your life can be rebuilt on a better foundation. Remain as you are, and you'll find that wealth and success built on contempt are hollow achievements indeed. The choice is yours. Ratan Kapoor. Arjun read the letter multiple times, each reading bringing new shame. Ratan was offering him a path forward, but it required confronting truths about himself that Arjun had avoided his entire life. He thought about the decorator who had been kind to Ratan, treating him with respect despite his simple clothes. That decorator had passed the test Arjun had failed. Why? What did that man understand that Arjun didn't? 6 months after the cancelled wedding, Arjun stood in a very different setting than the luxury hotel ballroom. He was at an ashram in rural Uttarakhand, working in the kitchen, cleaning floors, serving meals to visitors. He'd taken Ratan's letter to heart, resigned from his investment bank, and committed himself to a year of service and self-examination. The ashram director, Swami Ananda, had accepted Arjun despite knowing his story. You are here to learn one simple truth. Every human being has inherent worth regardless of their bank balance. Until you understand that in your bones, not just your head, you remain trapped in the poverty of spirit that led to your fall. The work was humbling. Arjun scrubbed toilets, washed dishes, hauled water. He worked alongside laborers and volunteers from all backgrounds. Many knew his story. Some treated him with suspicion, others with kindness he didn't feel he deserved. One older worker named Ramesh became an unlikely mentor, a former farmer who had lost his land to debt but maintained extraordinary dignity and wisdom. "Why are you being kind to me?" Arjun asked Ramesh one evening. "You know what kind of person I was." Ramesh smiled. "Was? Not am. You are here, working, learning, trying to change. That's not the same person who insulted Ratan Kapoor. That's someone becoming better. I believe in that possibility." Through months of manual labor and simple living, Arjun began to transform. He recognized his automatic judgments, his class-based contempt, his belief that money meant worth, and worked to challenge them. It wasn't easy. Decades of conditioning didn't disappear quickly. 10 months into his service, Ratan Kapoor visited the ashram. Their eyes met across the kitchen where Arjun worked, hands covered in dish soap. "Mr. Kapoor," Arjun said, approaching nervously, "your letter changed my life. I've been trying to learn what you suggested. I don't know if I succeeded, but I'm trying." Ratan studied him carefully. "Swami Ananda says you've shown genuine humility and respect to everyone. Is it real or performance?" Arjun thought carefully. "At first, performance. I wanted to redeem myself, but it became real. I met people here, Ramesh, Lakshmi, Kumar, and realized they're not lesser than me. In many ways, they're better. They have kindness, contentment, genuine connection. I was rich and empty. They're poor and fulfilled. That realization changed me. Ratan nodded. That's wisdom. But if you return to Delhi's elite circles, can you maintain this perspective? Arjun answered honestly, I don't know. That's why I'm considering not returning to that life. I don't trust myself yet in that environment. Return changed. Ratan advised. Elite circles need people who have learned what you've learned. Don't hide from your class. Transform it from within. He paused. I've arranged a position at one of my companies if you want it. Entry level. You'll work with people at all levels. Prove yourself through character and work, not connections. Arjun felt tears in his eyes. Why would you do that after what I did? Ratan smiled. Because you failed my test but you are passing the lesson. People can change. You are proving it. Now make this transformation permanent. A year after the cancelled wedding, Arjun returned to Delhi transformed. He took a position at Kapoor Industries, working alongside people from all backgrounds, treating everyone with genuine respect. His old friends barely recognized his humility and kindness. The viral story hadn't faded, but Arjun accepted it as consequence, using it to advocate for treating service workers with dignity. 5 years later, Arjun had risen to senior management through merit and character. He never remarried. His focus was on becoming worthy of a partner. He volunteered regularly and whenever tempted to judge someone by appearance. He remembered a billionaire in worn chapel who had tested his soul and saved him from a lifetime of cruelty. The cancelled wedding became a parable in Delhi society. Remember Arjun Malhotra. Parents told children. He treated a beggar with contempt because the beggar was a billionaire testing his character. Treat everyone with kindness because you never know who they are and because kindness makes you truly wealthy. Ratan Kapoor kept a letter from Arjun, received on the 5th anniversary. Thank you for destroying my wedding. It was the greatest gift anyone gave me. You showed me who I was and forced me to become better. I failed your test but passed your lesson. With gratitude always, Arjun. Ratan smiled reading it. His test had worked perfectly, not to humiliate, but to illuminate, not to punish, but to teach. Arjun had chosen to change when shown his flaws. That transformation from cruel to kind, from seeing people as objects to seeing them as souls, that was worth more than any wedding or business deal. It was the redemption of a human being, the greatest success of all.